Morning, good morning. No sky tree today. Can't see it from where we are here. Oh, is that a heron down in the pond there? No, no. In the distance, up against the weir, there's a white. Oh, it's not moving. We see herons, eh? They come about a couple times a day, whatever. A heron will walk along the river here. It looks like one up there. Maybe it's a leaf hanging down or something. I can't tell. I'm sorry. Okay. Plastic bag hanging in there. I don't know. Sorry. Maybe we'll get a gift from a heron one day. Good morning. Good morning. It's cold in here. It's cold in here. I'd forgotten. It's been so many years since I spent lots of time in the winter out here. I've forgotten just how cold it gets in here. What have we got? There must be a... Yeah. I don't dare look at this. What does it show? You look at it. I can't look at it. What does it show? 4 degrees. I don't know. 3 or 4. I didn't spend the day working here. I mean, the reason it's so cold here is this is abandoned. I mean, nobody works here day by day by day. The women in the next room, just through the hallway here, they have a panel heater. They have floor heaters. They're okay. It's all turned off at the moment, but when they get here in a couple of hours, they will crank it up and away they go, make their room comfortable. But this room is just abandoned. There's nobody working here these days. You saw the printing I was doing was down in a saksa. This is my printing bench. I'm sitting on my printing bench. But I got to do it in a saksa these days. So yesterday for the box making, I'll show you in a minute. For the box making, I worked up in B1, the place where the bunk beds, the new bunk beds. There's a story about the bunk beds. I don't think I dare tell you. So I was working up there yesterday, and I got a lot of work done. The deal on the cases, these are the cases for our current subscription series. We get them in 4 sizes for our Hunka Club, for our basic subscription prints, and for some of our larger prints, and then a set for books and stuff. But the guy who makes them for us, Kobayashi-san, really super nice guy, and his wife, he's older than me, late 70s, early 80s, the couple, they're older than me, but they're still churning away, making cases and stuff. And they just sent us a week or so ago the first batch of 100. There's another 100 coming in a couple of weeks, and another 100 coming a couple of weeks after that. But he won't put the slot in. The slot for the... Here, let me switch cameras there so you can see what's going on. Questions. Did he fix the step? Yes. Just a second. Let's one thing at a time here. Here's the case, the box. As I said, he makes them just in a straight square shape. What he does is he builds a case first, then slices it in half, and then puts the internal fittings in. But his table saw doesn't have a tilting arbor. And he's not about to go and buy a new table saw. He's, like I said, he's 80 years old. He's not going to buy a new table saw just to do my job. And what we want is, we want this slot inside. So what he does do, he's willing to do this. He puts a reinforcing piece in the box as he builds it. And then when they get here, this is my job. And I did this yesterday on the first batch of 40 cases. If I can get this closed. What happens, of course, is we have a stand, a plywood stand, which we supply, and an acrylic sheet, which we supply. They go inside. And, of course, the box becomes a display stand. Vertical prints, horizontal prints. So yesterday, I spent the day, or the afternoon, doing this. And today also, Sadako's coming over to help. And we're going to do this slot on another 70 cases. And I meant to take video yesterday so you could see it. But just in all the chaos and all the messing around, I didn't get any video taken. So we'll take some video today while Sadako and I are doing some of this cutting so that I can show you next time. It's tight. It's a good tight fit when they're new. The trouble is, of course, they're made here. His workshop is in Osaka. Wintertime in Japan, nice and dry. You send them all over the world. It goes to England, lots of rain, and they swell, and So they don't end up being perfectly fitting all the time, all the way through. But the problem now with the thing, we want to cut this slot. My table saw doesn't have a chance for a dado head. I built the table saw myself when I first came to Japan in 1986. My kids had nothing to do, no toys, we couldn't afford anything. So I got some lumber and an old motor and I built a table saw. But there's no way you can build a table saw yourself, or I couldn't, that has a tilting arbor. So my table saw can't cut this slot. Now if your arbor won't tilt, then fine. What you do is you tilt your work. But the distance here is just too far, and my saw blade is not that large to be able to cut this on a tilted workpiece. How long does it take for Sadako-san to commute? Oh, she's not commuting. She's just going to drop by today to help. She lives 2 towns down. This is the Ome line. Ome, Higashi Ome, Kabe, Ozaku, Hamura. I forget the station. She's about 6 stations down. She's just dropping over. She's not commuting. She's just gonna come over. Anyway, we're doing it. So what I do, because I don't have a dado head, I got a single blade, and we make multiple passes. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I've got a bunch of shim cards ready. Cut the first slot, put a shim in, cut the second, cut the third, cut the fourth, cut the fifth. And then sand it up. So I'll have some video for you next time. I don't have that today, I'm sorry. Someone's speaking about hokusai. We're going to see some hokusai later on in our book corner. But today's work is not spectacularly interesting, I'm sorry. I had 2 choices today for the stream. I could have taken the camera up to the floor upstairs and done some more table saw work. But I think there's no way I can sit there with a table saw running and chatting with you guys for 2 reasons. One is the unbearable noise, and second is I'm scared shitless of table saws. And there's no way I want to do that work and try and watch a stream and do chat and fool around with other things. So I'm sorry, that's a non-starter. I'll take some video today and we'll see it in the next stream, but there's no way. I mean, I do some stupid things in my life. Right here, I'm sitting in a freezing cold room working. I do lots of stupid things, but I'm not going to be that stupid. So, so today's work is, guess what? We're seeing these prints yet one more time. This actually is not a bad thing, you know. You saw me size the paper for these prints. You saw me moisten the paper for the prints. You saw me make the prints. So, get a box of prints with a free finger inside. So, she's got them in 2 groups. Why? I don't know what she's done, but I better... We've passed them on to our packing staff, and she's taken a few of them and put them separately. I'd better leave those alone. I don't know what she's doing. I'll just put those aside. So here they are. This is the batch of prints. I can't reach the camera to zoom in. I love doing this when Kubota-san sends prints to show. Kubota-san sends his prints. Look how they're all exactly the same. Dave is not Kubota-san's level. Oh, she's counted them and split them into groups. I see. Oh, ho, 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 ho. I better not interfere. She left me an assignment. She said, get trimming. So today I'm supposed to be trimming these. So. It's turned out nicely, you know. I'm happy with this. It's turned out kind of nice. Work on the second and third is, of course, proceeding apace. Okay, someone's saying, did I take the blocks and stuff to Kubota-san? I did indeed. As we speak right now, Kubota-san is already... It's kind of dark in here, isn't it? As we speak, Kubota-san is working on 200 more copies of this. Okay, now what's the deal? Where's the, oh, here we are. It looks like the marker is on the table here. Oh, back to our noise. There it is. Okay, they're all cut to 125 to show. I see, she's got tape marked for this as well, so it might be sensible to do each one like this. Do the horizontal and then do the vertical. Let's give a test here. Yeah, that's the way to do it. And there we go. We have a finished print ready for packing. Okay, if you can stand the noise, then that's the way it's going to go here today. If this was Kubota-san doing this, of course, he wouldn't be cutting these one by one. We've talked about this before. Why not cut them in multiples? The traditional printer would take this stack and probably cut them all at once with a kamikiri bocho. We've had this conversation many times. I don't have the skill, and the danger factor, the chance of disaster is so high that it's way better for us to just take the time one by one. It's no big deal. We've printed the colors one by one. It's no big deal to take the cutting one by one. And cutting them in multiples, really the risk of screwing up is just too high, just too high. Is the noise that bad? I don't want to use oil here. We've talked about this before, you know. WD-40 or oil or spraying, it moves around, it gets on the blade, it gets on the prints, and we're doomed. We can't mess around with oil. Just live with it, please. Paraffin, maybe something that wouldn't creep. Is that a decent suggestion? Paraffin. How would I get that? Or wax, like from a wax candle or something, smear it in there. That might help. Just, I'm so nervous about this. I'm sorry. Yeah, graphite wax, something like this, yeah. I don't have any of those things handy at the moment here, I'm sorry. Okay, today's content. We have this work to do. Actually, I have a couple of different jobs standing by. If we get bored out of our skulls with this, or if I finish it, I have more. She has given me an assignment, Ishigami-san. She wants me to do some packing for the Hokusai series. We have finished prints from the Hokusai series, and they have to be corner packed and stuff. So that work is also standing by. If we get bored with this. I'm sorry, I don't have a video episode for you today. I've been trying to include some video in each of these Ome streams. And when I was planning this week, I thought I would take the video during the box making yesterday. But I just got too involved with the cutting and cutting and cutting. As I said, I'm nervous with the table saw. So that'll be postponed till this week, I'm sorry. Till next time. We do have a book corner. We have a fun book corner today. It's not the kind of book that I'm going to say, take down this ISBN number and go out and buy this. And this isn't the kind of a book that changed my life. It's just that last night when I was looking around my room upstairs, I looked at one and I thought, you know what? It might be really cool to show these people this one because it's sort of so over the top that, whatever. Anyway, so we do have a book corner, a fun book. Fun for me, hopefully fun for everybody. But is it a change in my life book? No, not at all. I don't know how many more of those kind of books are left upstairs. Thousands of books. How many more are going to be in that category? This book changed my life. Chainsaw lumber making. I've got that upstairs. I've got that. Not that I've ever used it. Or I guess you know, maybe you saw it on a tour of the bookshelves earlier, did you? Sorry. Yeah, that must be what somebody there has seen. It'll never get used now. Never, never, never. I went to see Kubota-san on Tuesday. I told you this job now has been passed on. The blocks and paper have gone to Kubota-san for the next group. And because it's the first job of the year, he didn't do any work over the year, and he asked for a, he gives me his schedule, give me work. He did a couple of jobs in December, and then he said, Dave, I'm going to take a break over the holidays. Give me the next job from January the 8th. So I went to see him on the 7th, which was Tuesday. I took paper, blocks, called him up, said, can I come over? He says, yeah, sure. And it's common in Japan, someone like a relationship like ours. I'm the publisher. I'm hiring him as a contractor steadily all year long. He drops around near the end of the year to see us, to give sort of, nenmatsu, aisatsu. And he brings a little gift for the printers and stuff like that. But it's my turn in January. So I went over to see him, took a little gift, no big deal. We're talking cookie level gift and stuff like that. Thank you very much for your work in the previous year, and I hope to enjoy working with you this year, all this kind of stuff. Standard aisatsu. It's all formulaic, but he's very happy that I'm there to do this, and I'm happy to keep him happy. It's all sort of strictly formula behavior here in Japan with a relationship like ours. So whatever. So I get in there and I sit down, and the first thing I do, I get in the area where you take your shoes off, and I see a bunch of folded cardboard boxes. And I'm like, Kubota-san, you're moving again? And he's like, yep, I'm moving again. The guy's 77 years old. He moved house last year, and he's moving house again this year. And he's in the middle of packing up all his stuff. So I said, wait. What about this job? You can't, I need this print by the 21st. He says, no, relax. I'm just starting to pack now. We're moving in February. And yeah, at 77 years old, he's moving again. I asked him why, and he was a bit coy, so I don't know. Not our deal to pry. But then he said, I hear, and this blew me over. He said, I hear you're training a bunch of new printers. I said, well, actually, one of the things I wanted to talk to you today, Kubota-san, was about, we were going to think about maybe training some new printers this year. We might need your help. And he said, well, no, you've got 32 new printers. I'm like, this floored me. What are you talking about? We don't have 32 new printers. there might be people out there who know exactly where this story is going. And he was dead serious. He assumed that maybe we got some government money or something like this or whatever. And he thought we had started some massive project to start 32 printers. Yeah, he read the Instapost and he took it literally. It was funny. I can't kick the guy out. He saw the Instapost, and he doesn't speak or understand English, and so he asked for Japanese translation, and the Japanese translation told him what it said. So of course he's working through translation. So he believed it, and he's been waiting for me to show up so that he can ask me what's going on and how did I arrange this and where did these people come from and where did I get the money. Everything else. I couldn't even get my shoes off and get sat down before he hit me with the questions. So for the past couple of weeks, he's been in this, oh my God. I'm not making fun of the guy. Absolutely. He's a super nice guy, super serious guy. He does his job so well. But of course, he doesn't know English. I was telling a bit of a joke. Lots of times here on this stream, somebody here tells a joke and zoom, it goes over my head. So I get this. So please understand. But it's just so funny. And the thing is, even when I explained what was going on, he's like, why did you do that? I'm, whatever. Oh, well. We all love him so much, He is just, from our point of view, he's like the perfect person, He's never upset. He doesn't get angry with us. He's just so polite. He's a nice, gentle person. It's just sort of, from our point of view, he's a perfect person. And he does this job so well and so quickly. Never asks for more money. On the occasions when there's a defective print or something, sometimes, maybe the sizing was too strong. I screwed up. And it was too strong sizing, and I couldn't sell some of the prints. He says, no, don't pay me. And we're like, it wasn't your mistake. I screwed up. I'm going to pay you. He says, no, I won't take it. And we say, oh, yes, you will. So he's super kind and gentle this way. We really try and take care of him as well as we can. We just want him to live forever and ever and ever and ever and ever. And also this paper I took him, of course, this is the new paper from Murata-san, which he has never seen before. Well, he's seen it before because earlier, a few months back, I'd been putting test sheets in with some of his printing. But he didn't know any of the backstory. But now the paper he has got for this job, the 200 plus sheets, is of course Murata-san's paper. And the sample I took him, I took him one of the prints and said, here's the deal, here's the print to copy, take a look. And we looked at the paper and studied it. And he's asking me, how is it? How does it print? And I'm like, well, you're about to find out. But I've already made 200 prints of this, and here's one of them. It looks okay. So he is now the first outside test, major test of a single print run done on Murata-san's paper. Oh, somebody's asking, what does he think of the paper? We will find out. We will find out. Yeah, he saw the new printer, so he decided to retire. So someone's asking, what did the post say? I don't remember. It's a picture of a bunch of new shelves. It's on our Instagram page. It's just a photograph of a ton of shelves, and we've been calling them, as a joke, the bunk beds, because they sort of look like bunk beds in an old Navy environment or something. The people are stacked up like logs or something. So I just joked about it. I said, these are the bunk beds for the new printers, and he believed it, so I'm sorry. I also asked him something else. I guess I can talk about this. It's okay. No names here. No names. I know those of you who've been following our activities for the past while know that late last year, in November last year, Adachi Isamu-san, who we featured in a video last September or so, Adachi-san passed away last November. He passed away on my birthday. We didn't know about it for a couple of weeks, but he's gone. So the Adachi company, I guess at the moment, is involved in some changes. The ownership and stuff is okay. The Adachi company, there's different corporate organizations. There's a company there which is owned by, it's the stock and stuff is all owned by people who work there. And there's a foundation, which of course will continue. But with Adachi-san himself no longer present, and this is the history for Adachi was the founder back in the 1920s, and then Isamu-san, who came post-war to take over from the founder. So there's only been 2 generations. In 100 years, the company was founded in the 1920s, and it's now the 2020s, and there's only been 2 men in charge of it through that whole period. So Adachi-san now, he's left at 94, and there's a new generation happening there. So Kubota-san worked there for many, many, many years. So when I was chatting with Kubota-san on Tuesday, I had some questions for him. The fact that Isamu-san is now gone and blah, blah, blah. And he said, yeah, he's very sad. Isamu-san obviously was a very important person to run that business for many, many years. So when I asked Kubota-san, what do you think of the future of that company, he really didn't have anything to say that I could pass on to you, whatever. Whether they're going to go well or go badly, he didn't know. Simply, he worked there for a number of years. But what I did ask him was something like this. There are a number of people working at Adachi as printers, different levels of experience. The top group, Kubota-san's group, they're all long retired. There's nobody at Adachi there now in their 80s or 70s or 60s or 50s. There's nobody, there's no senior printers there now. There are middle-aged printers working there. But I asked Kubota-san, I asked him for some advice. That if Dave contacted some of the people working for Adachi as printers, and made them an offer they couldn't refuse, in quotes, whatever. Would that be ethical? What did he think about this? And I can toss this out to you guys too. This is not a vote. I'm not going to make my decision based on a vote, but I would like a bit of thought and feedback on this. The concept of headhunting. Over in the modern world with large companies and corporations, headhunting is really a thing. Because the people working for some large corporation, whatever, may not really have any loyalty or whatever, or jobs change. You sort of chase the money and you do this. But in my field here in Japan, we have a printmaking workshop with a team. There's an Adachi, another printmaking workshop with a team. Is the concept of kind of like headhunting from my company, talking to one of the employees over there and saying, how would you like to think about coming over to work for me? The reason I'm asking this is because in my own mind, I'm not quite sure of the ethics behind this. Probably there's going to be 2 answers. People are going to say, go for it. Who cares? The modern world. Just offer the money and it's up to them. But there's also the viewpoint is that you shouldn't do this, Some other company has nurtured that person for many, many years. If I step in and offer more money, then I'm stealing that person, that value from that company. I don't know. So as I say, it's not a vote, and maybe lots of people will say, go for it, go for it, go for it, because it helps me if I do that. And maybe I'm old-fashioned. Is headhunting ethical? I really have trouble coming to a consensus in my mind on this one. Kubota-san said, "Go for it." He said, "Go for it." But he also qualified that. He said, "Now that Isamu-san is gone, go for it." Which adds an ethical meaning to it. Adachi-san, the guy who died just last month, he was instrumental in my development as a printer and as a printmaker when I came here. He encouraged me, he saw my work, he gave me pieces of wood, he allowed me to come in and look at his work, man. So Adachi-san himself, I had a sort of obligation to. He wasn't my sensei, nothing like that, but he was older and experienced, I was younger without experience, and he did, bit by bit, to help. He didn't pull me up, but he, put some steps there that I could help climb up. He did help me. So if he was still alive, I wouldn't even think about doing this, which tells me that there is an ethical fact to this. Now that he's gone, Dave is thinking about this. It's tangled. It's tangled. I'll read this more carefully later. I'm just skipping here. I can't read it all carefully. Thank you very much for the thoughtful comments. I will look at these later today or tomorrow. How would I feel if the tables are turned? Well, actually, I'm in that situation. And this has happened to me. And again, we got to sort of keep names out of this because, whatever. But yes, on two specific occasions that I know of, and maybe more that I don't know of, on two specific occasions, people who work for me as a printer have been, it's not headhunted, but they've been approached by other publishers to say, would you like to do some work for us? It wasn't like, will you abandon Mokuhankan and come here, but would you like to do some work for us? And on the two occasions that I know about, both of those people have said, sorry, I'm full up. I'm happy with what I'm doing at Mokuhankan, and I'm sorry I can't help you. So there is demand from outside for the people who are working for us as printers. So it's happened that way. What did I think about that? Did I think that was unethical on the part of the other person? No, I thought they were just doing their job. They were exploring, trying to find printing. I guess I'm trying to talk myself into this here. And here we are. So someone's got a key point here. There's a very real chance city office announcement. I can't hear it. We're in a valley. There was an announcement. It was either the end of the world is happening in 30 seconds, incoming missiles, or there's an earthquake, or there will be a fire drill at 10 o'clock or something. I couldn't hear the words. Could you guys hear it? City announcement. Dave's headhunting. Be careful. I'm sorry. That broadcast system, it's there, and it's used when there's a fire somewhere. Like whenever there's a fire somewhere in the city, the announcement says there's a fire somewhere, keep away. The other announcements that are common, when it's an election, please go and vote, and they do it 3, 4, 5, 6 times a day during the election day. There's another one, it's not so common, But it is. It will say, we announced there's a missing person on an old folks' home. Somebody's gone for a walk and they didn't come back in time. If you are in the such and such area, if you see an elderly gentleman wearing a blue sweatshirt, blah, 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 who looks like he's not sure where he is, please call us and we'll assist. You know, so the lost people is another announcement. Elderly people walking away, you know, that's not that rare. What other kind of announcements are there? There's the fire drill stuff. There's the emergency alert system, and once every few years they do a test of it. So we will have the announcement. 10 o'clock this morning, there's a test of the fire alarms. Don't panic. Yeah, whatever, that would be the thing. Yeah, so. And the North Korean missile one is not a joke. I don't think that's what that was, but that one is not a joke. The North Koreans are still testing missiles, and a number of those missiles come over Japan. And people up in the northern area, Tohoku and Hokkaido, they are now starting to get used to this. There are missile drills because missiles are coming over Japan, the North Korean tests. That's not a joke, that's a thing. That's an actual thing. There's 100 or so such tests every year. I don't know where they get the money to send all those missiles. But as part of the general North Korean provocation against Japan, that's something they do. I can imagine the comparison. The North Koreans are testing missiles which will fly across Japan and splash down in the Pacific. I imagine if, like the Cubans, or back in the day when the Russians were involved with Cuba, if they tested a missile or two and it flew over Florida and landed in the Atlantic there. That's what's happening now. Yeah, here we are. So, missile test. So. You feel pain seeing how you cut it one by one. It's not, this is certainly not the most efficient part of the process, but I don't care. Remember, you're talking to a guy here at the moment who, to make this print, he put glue on paper one by one. He then hung them up in a room. Well, not one by one, 2 by 2. I hung them up 2 by 2. And then I moistened the sheets 2 by 2. I then printed every one of these colors one by one. For this sheet of paper, I printed the green, the darker green, the blue, the green, the red, on this sheet of paper. So that sheet of paper has already come across my bench many, many, many times. To sit here peacefully while chatting with friends and slice these papers one by one for the last step is not a chore at all. It's peaceful, pleasant work. If I wasn't talking to you, I'd be listening to music or something and enjoying life. So this is not a tragedy or a chore or a hugely inefficient thing that needs to be changed. It's just the last step that results in this. There's 120 sheets here, which will go out to 120 new homes all around the world, people who are eagerly waiting for them. This is not a chore. Someone says, why 120? There's no magic number there. The sheets of washi that we use cut to make 8 prints. So when we start a batch of prints like this, it's going to be a multiple of 8. We have capped our current subscriptions at 350. We've turned this off now. You can't buy this anymore. I don't know if I mentioned this. It's turned off now on the website. We will open it again for subscriptions probably later in the year if we can arrange the printing time. But at the moment, this series is now sold out. So I did the first batch. I did 2 batches with 120 sheets and 120 sheets from which I severely, strongly culled to get 100 plus, 100 plus. We've sent to Kubota, I said a few minutes ago, 200 or something. It's not 200. He doesn't want to make that many prints at one time in his retirement. So he's got, I forget how much I gave him, 160, 172, I can't remember. So there's no magic number there. There's no magic number. I'm missing lots of this, I'm sorry. Someone says, my print is in the stack. Those of you who are getting billing and shipping on the 11th of January, this is your stack. The 1st of January group is long gone. They're out in the world. They're gone. This is the group that will be posted on or after the 11th. Naomi-san will be sending the invoices on the 11th, the afternoon. Then as the payments come in, Ishigami-san here, she will be spending the next few days packing these, getting ready. As the payments come in after the 11th, 12th, 13th, she trucks these off to the post office. Kubota-san is printing the group that will be mailed on or after the 21st. So if you're in the January 11th group, this is your print. And please don't ask me to write your name on the back. Ishigami-san doesn't want that trouble. They're just random. They're pretty much identical. They're just random. Yeah, put a special mark on your print. Sorry. Sorry. Ishigami-san would shoot me. This one's for Mr. A. This one's for Mr. B. Please sort them out carefully. Keep them in order. She would shoot me. Canada Post, I can't help you there. How's our time? 8:42. Okay, as I said, there's no video interlude today. I'm really sorry about that. I wanted to make that a regular thing. Nothing happening outside? No, it's obviously not a heron not going to stand there. It's something, a leaf or something hanging on one of those trees. Do we ever sell the wood box? No, sir, no, sir, no, sir, no, sir. Offcuts of paper. There is a slight news about the offcuts of paper. Part of... Who's this? What's this? What's this? Who's here? Oh, Shiba-san! Gomen, gomen, gomen. Ima live desu yo. It's Shiba-san. If you're here, we can see... Good morning. Shiba-san, not Ayumi... Ayumi Shiba. Not that Ayumi, this Ayumi. There's confusion here. We only have one Shiba-san, but we have two Ayumis. Ayumi Miyashita Ohashi is not this lady. This is the ghost. This is the ghost lady. The spider lady. This is that Ayumi-san, Shiba-san. She's not actually a full-time employee of ours anymore. She's done lots of different things, but she lives near here, so she uses our workshop to print. What are you printing today? What are you doing?
今日準備。でもゴーストのやつの最後の空刷りしに来た。
あ、そう。カラスのもの関係ない。あれはもう終わった。
カラスは明日からまた刷ります。その準備今日しに来ました。
そうか。
ずっと失敗してる。
じゃあ次の作品。次の作品。何ゴーストのような。
ゴーストがずっと今リプリンティングをずっとキープしてたから。 今ようやくそれで1枚ぐらい
OK でも新作品は
新作品まだ色分けしてる色分け、まだ色分け
じゃあ待ってる人はしょうがない。
そうしょうがない。今半年間ぐらい色分けが止まってる。
Yeah, so I was hoping maybe she's doing some work here, so I was hoping maybe we'll get a new print sometimes, but she says not yet.
今日はカラスの準備、山本さんっていう人の
そうか
作品の準備しに来ました。
今人種でしょ、壁から自転車
自転車
やってる間に市役所からの放送ありましたですね。聞きました。いやここに放送があると聞いたんですから、言葉がわからないから、何があったかな。
本当全然聞こえない。
Okay. She didn't notice it. So the announcement, did she notice it? No, sorry.
何にも音聞こえない。
See, this is the thing.
一生懸命声出たから。
そう、whatever. そう。OK。ギャー、ヒーター入れてくださいよ。
わかりました。
ごめん。
ありがとうございます。
入れてないんですから。お
邪魔しました。
She'll put the heater on next door. She said she didn't notice it, the announcement. And that's the thing about those announcements. There's speakers all over town, like nobody pays any attention at all. Someone saying, anywhere I can find her prints. I'm sorry, they're all out of print. There might be a place you can see them, but they're all going to say reprinting. Let me see if I can find a link here, just so you know what we're talking about here, this lady. One sec. If I go to the Mokuhankan website, there might be a place where you can see the prints she has made. 1 second here. Print catalog. Guest items. No, we've turned them off because there was no hope of them coming back. I'm sorry. I don't have them on the website right now. I'm sorry. She had a bunch of prints that we had in our guest corner, but once she basically stopped making them, we've taken them out. Someone says, if you want to quit your job, could you make enough money as a printer? Somebody who can do this today can write their own ticket. You want to quit your job, you don't know how to do this, and the number of years it would take you to get to this level is one of the barriers. The second barrier is Japan has no visa classification for people working in a field like this, traditional crafts. So there's no way for a non-Japanese resident to be here training. There's no way to do that. There's no legal visa classification for this. So those two barriers are, don't quit your day job right now. Someone like, I'm just going to make this up, someone like Karen over there, who does have this skill already. She has worked in her own time to build this skill. So Karen here, living in America right now, could do this. And if it was something that she wanted to do, we could send her blocks and she could do prints for us. I don't think she wants to do that. She wants to make her own art, not be a slave from Mokuhankan. So there's really no easy way through this. What I need right now is efficient printers who are already skilled and trained. They don't exist here. So it's up to Mokuhankan now to start training a new generation of young Japanese. And it makes no sense for me to talk about training foreigners because there's no legal path for me to do that. There really isn't. And it's not my idea. I think the Japanese government should maybe kind of allow this sort of thing, but they don't. There is no visa classification for this. And Mokuhankan cannot get you a visa. People ask me this all the time. Dave, I'll come and work for you. You get me a working visa, blah, blah, blah. I can't do that. I mean, literally, I am not able to do that. Yeah, there's a bunk bed. Somebody else is here. Oh, Ishigami-san, ohayo gozaimasu. Domo. Mada live 中ですね。石上さん、これは何？意味ないですか？ありますか？数えました？ 50ずつと。OK。じゃあそのままありますから。はい。 Oh yeah, the offcut story. I'm sorry. So the paper offcuts. As as part of generally cleaning up upstairs to get things sorted out and put on the shelves, I have of course been unearthing bags of washi offcuts. I weighed what I found. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 bags now in the kitchen table. There's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 or 6 bags up in the closet upstairs. So we found a bunch of bags. I weighed a couple of them for a sample. And it seems that here in in the Ome workshop right now, we have 17 kilograms of offcuts. In Asakusa, we have maybe not quite as many. I'm not sure. I haven't weighed them up. So we have 17 kilograms here. Maybe there's about 10 kilograms in Asakusa. So we have over 25 kilograms of mulberry fiber here. Now this is definitely enough to make a huge, huge, huge batch of interesting paper. Murata-san wants to use this stuff. So these offcuts are no longer thought of as garbage. What should we do with them? The single problem is now how to get them from Tokyo up to Fukui Prefecture. And to ship them by takubin would cost many, many, many hundreds of dollars, not to mention the packing costs and whatever. The only way to get them up there really is to rent a car and drive up there to the other side of the country. And it's not something that I can really take time to do right now. So Murata-san has an idea. She's got lots of friends up in her town. And among those friends who are not just paper makers, but just general friends. Among those friends are people who, well, maybe now and then once a year or something, they come to Tokyo. So she has now started to put out the feelers among her community there. Anytime somebody's going to be in near the Tokyo area and they're driving and they've got a car or a truck or something, we're going to tee this up. That person would come here, get this 17 kilograms, go to Asakusa, get that, and the kozo fiber will all go back to Murata-san. So things are coming. And what she would do with it is she would make a batch of paper with it that will be sort of a little bit grade B paper. And the problem is because the offcuts like this are mostly, you tell me, most of the fibers are normal kozo fibers. They will separate on boiling. They will go back to being a pulp. But a lot of the fibers are cut. And that's the reason Iwano-san doesn't want these. One of the reasons. Because a lot of the fibers have been cut, and instead of a nice long mulberry fiber, maybe 15 millimeters long, you now only have an average of 7 millimeters. And the smaller the offcuts are, the more chance that most of the fibers are going to be short. And we've got offcuts at all different sizes, but this is a typical offcut. So I think most of the fibers, Dave's unscientific guess here is that maybe 75% of the fibers here are natural and uncut. And maybe 25% of the fibers in that zone have been cut. Murata-san is thinking, bring it on. She doesn't care. Bring it on. Someone's asking about the flight information. I think a lot of the airplanes here will not be on your tracker. We are a few kilometers west of the Yokota Air Force Base. And I don't live here to get the daily pattern, but what happens lots is they do touch and go landing practice, and there's a circle. They take off, they make a circle, they go back down, touch and go landing, make a circle and come round. And that circle passes near here. And back when I was working and living here day by day by day, sometimes there would be the endless and around they went. Whether they show on the flight tracker you're watching, I don't know. The sound a few minutes ago sounded just like one of the planes coming into Yokota Base. People living nearer the base, they have arranged, the government has arranged for them to pay for special windows that cut the sound. We're way too far away from it. Flight training over the middle of Tokyo. This is not in the middle of Tokyo. I am in Tokyo. I'm in Ome City, which is one of the cities that make up Tokyo. But we are not in the middle of Tokyo. If you saw a map of Japan with the outlines of Tokyo Prefecture, I'm not quite in the middle of it, I think. Maybe there's 2/3 to the right of me and 1/3 to the left of me. I don't know. We talked about this in a previous stream a few weeks ago. I'm in Tokyo, but I'm not in downtown. There's mountains just behind me here, mountains and hills. We've got a river flowing. This is the outside view. This is outside. We are still in Tokyo. This is Tokyo. This is an important question here. When we plan a print, do we make the fiber grain go in a particular direction to the print? Yes, of course. This is key. This is absolutely key to what we do with printing here. Excuse me. Sorry. It's one of those sort of rules we have that are sort of non-negotiable. We never, ever, ever change it. Whenever if you saw me printing this the other day, you would have seen me do this. I would have put the paper in the blocks and I would have rubbed it this way. You would never, ever see me do this, put it in the blocks and rub it this way. And there's a whole bunch of reasons for this. The paper fiber always aligns the long way of the print. When she makes the paper, you saw the videos, dip, dip, rock, rock, dip, dip, rock, rock. Most of the rocking action happens in a certain direction, and it turns out that sheets of Japanese washi like this have a grain direction. Sometimes you can see it, sometimes you can't, depending on the form of the screen. And a few things are different in the finished paper. One is that it will tear differently one way as opposed to the other way. You can tear it with the grain easily. You can't tear it across the grain. And I'm not playing games with you here. I can't tear this. Here, just try. I'm trying this. It will not tear across the grain because it's the way the mulberry fibers are. But with the grain, it's much, much easier to tear it. Now, we don't care. We don't tear our prints, nor do the customers tear our prints. But when we are rubbing it, we want the rubbing action of the baron to be running with the grain. If it does that, it doesn't stretch the paper at all. If we rubbed our baron against the grain, if we printed this way, chup, 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 the paper would open up and stretch, and we'd never, ever, ever be able to keep registration. So we would never print this way. We always print this way. And when we are cutting the paper for our prints, we absolutely keep this in mind, and we could never cut it the wrong way around. The print will be a disaster. There's more reasons too. If we have the print the long way, let's say you're a long distance away here. I don't know how much you're trying to explain what it's not. If we've got the two registration marks, if they are a long distance apart and there's the tiniest movement on one side, then the movement up there is not so much. But if your registration marks are on the short side, then a tiny movement here, because of the geometry, results in a large movement at the other end of the paper. So we always keep the registration marks also on the long side of the paper. Military, absolutely military. You'll go to airbase going around. It sounds like one of those transport planes. It's not a fighter. Can't see it. It's just behind me here. transporting my 32 printers inbound. Yeah, right. How cold is it there? Well, we're being a bit silly. This room is normally unused and the insulation is not finished, so we don't have this room heated up at the moment. But it's not normally used by staff. Dave is sitting here working. So what does it say right now? I can't see it. It's about 4 degrees here. But the people next door, they've booted up the heaters. They've got floor heaters underneath their feet. There's a panel heater heating the room. I prepared for them, actually. I prepared insulated acrylic panels for the windows, but they don't want to use them. The room they're in has single pane glass doors, 8 of them, all the way along. It's glass, wall to wall, which is a huge heat sink. My room here has triple glass. Their room still has single pane glass. So I prepared acrylic inserts padded with clear plastic. But they don't want to use them because they want to be able to see outside. That's a different plane. That sounds like a jet, a commercial jet. That's high. This one might be on your flight tracker. No idea. So I was like, are there examples from the old days when they printed the wrong way? Well, no printer would do that. It just doesn't work. If you want to get a decent set of prints, you will print and arrange your paper the proper way. You know. Remember, all these things I'm mentioning, this is in the world of traditional Japanese printmaking, the stuff that has ukiyo-e roots. Modern printmakers, they'll do anything, all different stuff. So remember, what I'm telling you is a rule. I'm just simply describing our work habits in the traditional field. Modern people do anything. So it's not that Dave told you never to do this, don't do this, or you will be a failure all your life. I'm describing the way it works in our tradition. I get in trouble for this sometimes. I've said something describing what we do, and a more modern worker will say, I don't do it that way. It's okay. Why are you telling me I have to follow these rules? And again, it's a rule for us. If we want a certain result, certain procedures have to be followed to get that result. So please, anything I say, please keep it in mind that it's in that milieu. It's not that I didn't say you can never do that. I'm describing our setup. That's a recurring thing here. I get castigated for that sometimes, you know. Sometimes like my failures, mistakes, my God, endless. How do I remember so many? I don't know. All these things I'm describing to you, I learned by screwing up, of course. Nobody taught me these things. Making that 10-year project, the Poets Prince, I waded into the field not knowing anything about what I was doing. My God, I screwed up again and again and again and again. The expansion of the paper too. I know it's funny. I shouldn't admit this to you because we're already deep into the woods with Murata-san's paper. But one thing waiting for me to do with Murata-san's paper, which I learned long ago with Iwano-san's paper, is when the paper's dry, it is what it is. When you moisten this paper for printing, it of course gathers the moisture and it expands a little bit. Cheaper junk papers, washi, I'm speaking of the world of washi, cheaper junk papers tend to expand quite a lot, or irregularly, or more in one direction than the other. We talked about the grain. That also affects the moisture expansion. A strong Echizen Hosho paper, well made, well rocked, with the fiber well beaten, does expand, but it's got a minimal expansion. It doesn't expand much. And it never, ever, ever expands in the vertical grain direction. All of the paper expansion in our Hosho washi is in the horizontal direction, which is another reason, on top of what I mentioned before, why we never switch it and print it the other way around. If I had cut the paper the wrong way and the grain was this way, as we rub like this, the paper will expand even more against the grain. And what I need to do is test Murata-san's paper by getting a dry piece, getting my microscope and drawing a little box, say 10 centimeters with a grid, really, really, really carefully on a dry piece, doing this for a few sheets of paper. Then throw them into the stack for moistening. Then while they are moist, get it under the scope again and measure. And I'm surprised about Murata-san's paper in that when I was doing these last couple of batches of prints, I wasn't even able to detect any difference in the horizontal direction. And I'm now very, very curious about this. I didn't expect heavy expansion vertically, but neither did I get heavy expansion horizontally. But I haven't measured this yet, so it's on my list of things to do. And if that's the case, if this is true, then boy, this is another prime feature of this paper. Minimal expansion under moistening. How's our time? 9:09. So we switched to the book corner. It'll take me a few minutes. Maybe we should think about doing this. Give me a couple more minutes, then we'll switch to our book corner. The rice powder, I don't know. It's all, at the moment, it's all, anecdotal evidence. I don't know the how and why and where. I'm just reporting on what I have seen. It's another military plane. It could be one guy doing the touch and go. Sometimes they come in a fleet, 3, 4, 5, following each other. The two of them next door, Ishigami-san and Shiba-san, they haven't stopped chatting since they got here, And this is the thing about this workshop. We want companionship, we want a friendly mood, we want people to, have a happy time together. When are they going to get to work? I don't know. The book corner today, it's a mix. Let's just do it. Let's just do it. I can't finish this in time. Let's switch to the book corner. I'm going to need some room. I'm going to need lots of room. It's not impossible to chat while working. Yeah, I know. Tell me about it. Offcuts coming to a sheet of washi near you someday, sometime. That's a commercial airliner. Okay, I'll have to go and get a book. There's 2 books involved. This one is an intro. One sec, let me go get the book. Yoisho. Yoisho. Okay, here's today's book. Before we get to it, we've got a little bit of an introduction book here. I can't reach the camera. We'll have to figure out what it is. Oh, I got socks on. Did you see that? I've actually got socks on today. Okay, the book is in Japanese. This is the bad news. It's called Ima Hokusai ga Yomigaeru. Yomigaeru means, reborn, come back to life again. It's a book from Dave tries to find the date magically. There's no date at the front. Let's go to the back. 1987. This is a year after I came to Japan. And this is a book that shows the process of a group of woodblock prints being made in the Adachi workshop in Tokyo. Actually, let me move the camera because you got to see some of the pictures here. One sec. Let me get the camera. How are we going to do this? Let's get rid of our river for a minute. Someone says, what's in the cake box? That's the book. The book we're going to look at is in here, but this is an introduction to what we're doing here. As I said, what we've got here, the story goes to Boston in the 1980s. We've mentioned bits and pieces of this before. Boston Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. At some point over there, somebody looked in some cupboards and a box inside a cupboard, inside a box, inside a cupboard, and they found a bunch of old pieces of wood. And long story short, the pieces of wood turned out to be wood blocks that had been carved in Japan many years before. They got some people to have a look around. Adachi came over. This is Mr. Adachi. He came over from Japan to inspect what was going on, to see some of these wood blocks. They brought a printer over to Boston. We're here. This is Nakata-san. They brought Nakata-san over to Boston, and they tried having a go at printing some of these. And it turned out that the blocks that they had over there were the wood blocks for a Hokusai illustrated book that had been published back in Hokusai's time, back in the 1840s. So the idea came to mind that what they would like to do is use those blocks again to make a new set of the books, to reprint them. A couple of problems. It turned out that among the blocks, and we're talking about like 450 wood blocks here, to make this page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, red, blue, yellow, green, each page, all those different things. There was hundreds and hundreds of blocks. Some of them were split or warped totally beyond what could be used. So the Adachi carvers got to work and replicated 2 or 3 of the pages that were missing. This is Horimoto-san. And Horimoto-san, he and I know each other because back in 1979 or 1980, when I first came to visit Adachi, he was the boy who was in his first week of training at Adachi. And they stuck me in a room with him and said, here, ask him some questions. I didn't speak Japanese, he didn't speak English, but whatever. He sat there working while I watched. So it's funny to see Horimoto-san's picture in this book because he and I go back together a long, long, long way. Anyway, the rest of this book then it shows how the thing is built step by step by step. They go out to Iwano-san's place and they order from Iwano-san some special thin paper to try and match the kind of paper that was used to make the Hokusai book back in the old days. That's Iwano-san, that's his wife. He's now 94, she's 80-something, whatever. They're still the main paper makers over there at Iwano-san. And there he is drying some of the paper for this book. So this Japanese book takes us through the whole process step by step by step. How they mix the pigments, how they do this, how they do that. And then Nakata-san, who was chosen for this job, gets to work. Kubota-san was there. He's in the workroom. I don't know, maybe that's his back. We can see, I don't know. Kubota-san was part of their team, but he didn't get chosen for this job. And then now the book really comes to life. It starts to show exactly how they mixed the pigments and how they printed each page of this book, one after the other. And the result is this. It was published in collaboration with the Boston Bijutsukan Ban, Hokusai, where are we? Hokusai Kyoka Ehon. And I'm going to have to zoom out to get this. We're already zoomed in, zoomed out. Talk about over the top. This was the bubble era in Japan. Money was just no object. To publish whatever, it didn't matter. People were going to be willing to pay any price for the finished product. It wouldn't make any difference. So what we've got here, and I'm not joking, this is the thing that they published. Based on those things that I just showed you in that book, this is the product that they published. And Japanese people bought this. It was, I think, a limited edition, I don't know, Boston Museum of Fine Arts. Do I have enough room? I can't even get zoomed far enough back out to get the whole thing in view here. You open the cover, and we've got 2 things inside. The first one here, this one, it's it's videotape. They taped the whole entire process of what they did in making this book with these new wood blocks from Boston. Customers of the book got the video cassette. They then, the book itself, we've got to excavate this. Can I, okay, let me move this part off, just one sec. Let me put that back in there. All the rest of it is styrofoam. All this huge box, it's styrofoam. Then when you buy this, you're buying a massive chunk of styrofoam. Okay, now let's get to the next part. What does it say? It's embossed. Museum of Fine Arts, Boston, 1987. No green tape. It's not leather. It sort of looks like funny fake leather, but it's not. It's you know, paper, whatever. And inside it is another one of those boxes. Hey, look at this, just like Mokuhankan makes. Our boxes that we use for our prints, it's the same stuff. It's a Polonia box, and it's hard to see even how to get into it. Here we go. Boston Bijutsukan Ban. Hokusai Kyoka Ehon. It'll be the introduction. I can't remember how to pronounce that one. And there's a Japanese-bound book, all Japanese, explaining a lot of the things that we just told you about this. And it's also got translations of all the poetry that's in the book. This is the, to go with the prints themselves. A message from the director of the Museum of Fine Arts in Boston. 150 copies. So this edition will be limited to 150 copies, which will be made available to museums and libraries in Europe, Japan, and in the United States, in order that all who are interested in the study of the work of that creative genius Hokusai may gain a first-hand and accurate impression of what has been preserved. So it says they made 150 copies for libraries. Really? Where did I get mine? And here we do. Here we now, coming in. Let's... Oops. I did not steal it. As I said, these were sold. This was all available in the bubble era. This is 1987, 1988. I guess they were selling it back then. This is still, like I've told this for millions of times, there's money flowing everywhere in Japan. This was the time when somebody made a silly valuation that the land in Tokyo was worth more than all the land in the United States, or something silly like this. I don't even remember the number. Here we have now the book. Ehon Sumidagawa Ryogan Ichiran Part 1. It's Jochu-ge. It's in 3 parts, part 1, part 2, and part 3. And what it is, literally, it's Ehon means picture book. Sumidagawa is the name of the river in Tokyo that goes through Tokyo. And Ryogan Ichiran. Ryogan means both banks of a river, and Ichiran is all done in one scene. So what Hokusai did was he drew sketches showing the riverbanks connected all the way up from the river mouth up towards and past Asakusa. And these are now, this is the original Hokusai book. Now you tell me what this is actually. This is made on Iwano-san paper, printed by Nakata-san in the Adachi workshop in 1987 on blocks, the original blocks from the Hokusai book back in the 1800s. Jacques, yes. We're talking about, Jacques has a copy of this book as well, I believe, and he's got a talk about this. So is this an original Hokusai book? 今途中ですが、今そうですか、OK、はい。今ちょっと最後の本の話ですから。So this is a very interesting question now. Is this an original Hokusai book? Well, it's the same blocks. Does that make it Hokusai's original? It's not a recarve, it's not a reproduction. The same pieces of wood that were used to make the books that were published in Hokusai's time. It's a later printing, absolutely. It's a later printing, but it's not a reproduction. You tell me, whatever. It doesn't matter to me, whatever. Yeah. There's defects, some of the blocks got banged or smacked up. And as I said, there's a few blocks, I don't know the final count, 2 or 3 or 4 blocks were recut by the Adachi carvers. And they made no attempt to fix the old blocks. They didn't go in and fix parts that had been damaged. And for the most part, they kept to the original color scheme. The blocks, of course, were covered with pigment, so it's not difficult at all to figure out what the original colors were, because all the color blocks still have pigment smeared all over them. Someone says, would they have fixed blocks in the old days? For the most part, they wouldn't have bothered to fix stuff like this. Prints in the old days, remember, they weren't being made as art. They were just, printed and slapped out and thrown out, tossed into the marketplace. There really would be no need to fix blocks in the old days. Zoomed in a bit too close, perhaps, I don't know. The book itself, Dave's so interested in the actual physical object. The design, as we said, it goes up the river. So they're the river mouth here, and they move up the river, and they sort of join. They don't exactly join like every leaf joining to the leaf on the next page, but if you had this in one piece all spread out, it would make sense. The embankments and everything else does match up page to page to page. So it really is a panoramic view, and it's spread through 3 volumes, all the way up the river from the mouth past Asakusa. And it's not, it's a little bit of a paradox in that although it's nominally one scene, we actually pass through different seasons. So there are cherry blossoms in one, we'll see snow in another one. So he's made no attempt to make it look like all taken on one day. He's used Hokusai has used the device of connecting it, but it's not a single print. And how many copies would have been made back in the old days? Well, certainly many, many thousands. It seems that it was a bestseller. And how the blocks ended up in Boston, they were purchased by a guy called Bigelow. He was an early Western traveler and researcher and knowledgeable person about Japan. And he purchased all kinds of stuff and donated it, a huge amount of it, to the Boston Museum of Fine Arts. A little bit curious about what we're seeing here. I guess it's a statue. I was thinking at first it's a street performer who sits there freezing and not moving, but I don't think they had those back in the old days. It looks like a stand with a little money box, and I guess it's a little statue. I don't know. You tell me. It could be a physical statue, or it could be a guy, a priest-type person with his alms. He's got his dish out asking for money and or food, I guess, and there's a money box in front of him. But they haven't given him a pink tone. So is it a statue or is it a real person? I don't know. It's a fantastic project, you know. It's an interesting parallel to the Hokusai Reborn series that Mokuhankan did the past 2 years. In our case, we took sketches and made new prints from them. In this case, Adachi and his team took the blocks and used those old blocks to make another edition from them. And this would have been a tough job. Those blocks would have been thin and warped. And Nakata-san, to get this far and this beautiful on such old blocks, it's a hell of an achievement. Hell of an achievement. The video cassette that I mentioned, it's a TBS television program that was made, and it is available on YouTube. A whole lot of people have got this. They've copied it and dubbed it. There was an English dub made. So somebody's got it here, Chicken Meister. Thank you very much. This is, I think that's the VHS that I have in this box. The Japanese TV program is here, and the Chicken Meister link here is the documentary about this project, dubbed into English or made in English. I don't really know. So if you're interested in this project, want to see more about this, there's 2 places to look. To see the images themselves close up, Jacques Commandeur's website, which I think somebody linked earlier up in the chat here. Jacques' website has a description of this book and all the images. And the Chicken Meister link just right now shows the video of the whole thing I'm just telling you about. Finding the wood blocks, inspecting them in Boston, flying them to Japan to make prints. That's 1. There's volume 2, volume 3. Massive, massive project. Oh, there we go too, snow. We had cherry blossoms before. Now we see snow as well. Yeah, the video begins with a baseball game. It's really kind of strange. You click to the baseball, think, I'm out of here. What am I doing here? But yes, that's the one. It starts with a baseball game. Okay, there you go. There's today's little book corner. This isn't any kind of a book that changed my life at all. I'm really, really happy to have it. I think I'm very lucky to have scored a copy of this. I won't tell you how I got it. It doesn't matter. It's legal. I didn't steal it. It doesn't have a stolen from somebody's library. It doesn't have one of those stamps in it. It's okay. But really what I mostly bought was a box of styrofoam. So I guess. Oh, it's because it's the Red Sox. Is that why they're keying it to Boston? Whatever. We've talked about this on streams before, so maybe somebody's mentioning over on the YouTube video there. There's a comment coming from our website. No idea, whatever. Just last night when I was thinking about a book to show on the stream today. So this book, the Japanese book, it's easily available. The Japanese book that covers this. If you're interested, there's an ISBN for this one. Have we got that? There's an ISBN for the Japanese book. And it should be easy to find. There was lots published. It was a kind of, not a bestseller, but it was lots and lots of copies that were sold back in the old days. And this has huge, the images, lots and lots of photographs. Through Nakata-san, they've pictured him every step of the way, building up all the colors on this thing. So if you're interested in printmaking, the technical part of this book itself is a really, really good picture series on how this thing came to do. Most of the text, all the text is in Japanese, but can't be helped. Okay, I think we're out of here. I am now going to turn my cutting work back to Ishigami-san, and I'm going to get upstairs, and I got another 60 boxes to cut today. Got to get my headset on to cut the noise down. All right, thank you very much. I will be back in Asakusa on Saturday, and the job I'll be doing, I don't want to talk about it right now, but yes, I will be working probably at my carving bench on Saturday morning in Asakusa, 2 days from now. See you then. Let's put the outside camera up. I've got my settings here call this the fish cam. This is not the fish cam today. I'll see you in a couple of days. Saturday morning back in Asakusa. Thanks very much for hanging out together. Maybe something's interesting or not today. I don't really know. See you in a couple of days. Bye for now. 3, 2, 1. Down she goes.